So several people have asked me about the white residue that is left behind from the fletching process when you're using the Flex-Fletch vanes and the Zing Kling glue. So the Zing Kling glue is a rubberized super glue, so it dries really fast, and you don't have to use an excess amount of it. So actually, I think there's 3 different factors that could contribute to why that white residue may form, or you may see that on your arrow after you finish your fletching process. The first one is, how are you prepping the shaft? I prefer to use hot water and dish soap and a scouring pad to clean the shaft before I start fletching. I don't use alcohol, I don't use denatured alcohol, I don't use acetone, because those leave a residue behind. If you use hot water and dish soap, Dawn dish soap, cuts through grease, and a clean scouring pad, and scrub the shaft with hot water and dish soap, rinse it clean, let it air dry. That's step number 1 to having a good finished product. The second thing is using too much glue. With this super glue, you don't have to use an excess amount of it, and there's a way that I'll demonstrate for you to make sure you've got just enough and not too much. And third of all, leaving it in the clamp too long. If you've got an excess amount of glue on the vane and on the arrow, and you leave it in the clamp for an extended period of time, this may not be the right terminology, but I believe it oxidizes between the edge of the clamp and the arrow, where that glue is sitting there and it's curing for an extended period of time. So I'll show you again how to combat that. So I'm going to just walk through my typical process to make sure that I get a good finished product, and hopefully that'll help you in your next fletching project. So got the vane in the clamp, arrows in the jig. The first step is to use the Zing Kling primer. One tip for using the primer is you don't want to use an excess amount of the primer either. You just want a moist tip. So this is a spring-loaded felt tip that's in in this primer pen. You want to make sure it's moist. You can touch it to this paper towel and see that there's liquid coming out, so the tip is moist. And I'm just going to run that down the inside of the vane on one side and on the other side of the vane, and that's all of the primer I want to use. I don't want to push that spring-loaded tip in against the vane, because you're going to get a rush of the primer and it's going to ruin the vane. It's just going to be too much. The next step is to use the glue. I use a full bead. There's a number of ways you could do this. I run a full bead of glue down the vane, and then I dab the excess off on a paper towel. You could put several dots of glue on there and use a Q-tip to spread it around, but this method that I'm getting ready to show you is what works best for me and I've got the best results with. So like I said, we're going to put a full bead of glue right down the center of the vane. Put the cap back on the glue. I'm going to take that clamp and I'm going to dab it on this paper towel, just enough to get the excess off. I'm going to put it on the jig. I'm going to press it down. I'm going to hold it against the shaft for 15 seconds. That's about 15 seconds. That's plenty long. I'm going to take it out. I'm going to take a Q-tip. I'm going to flatten the Q-tip out, and I'm going to wipe the excess glue off. Take it out of the jig, wipe the other side, and that's going to leave just enough glue. Wipe off all the excess. You get a clean, finished product with no residue, and I'll guarantee they're going to stick. So try that the next time you're using Flex-Fletch products. I'm sure you're going to see better results.